That guys like Lawrence Okoli, and especially if it's your right eye, if Jake's getting hit in his right eye, that usually would mean that he's getting jabbed, because that jab in orthodox would come out from the left hand on the right eye side.
And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul. I mean, I don't.
Paul was reportedly knocked out by a heavyweight sparring partner while preparing for his fight against Anthony Joshua. He recently appeared with a bruised and swollen eye, explaining that the injury occurred during intense sparring sessions as part of his training.
Keep it going. Way too long. There you go. Good round, Jake. Check that.
Fight Night revealed that Jake Paul had been sparring with elite heavyweight fighters, including Lawrence Okoli, Frank Sanchez, and Jared Anderson. Throughout these sessions, Paul was seen carrying visible injuries, highlighting just how punishing the sparring had become. Knight described this stretch as the toughest week of Paul's training camp, emphasizing that the power and experience of his sparring partners caused noticeable damage. The bruises and marks left after these workouts reflected the physical cost of preparing to face someone of Anthony Joshua's caliber. According to Knight, Paul is encountering challenges far beyond anything he has faced before, as even controlled sparring with top-level heavyweights has proven capable of inflicting serious harm and
Ranked Lawrence Okoli. That is who Jake Paul has been sparring with over these past few weeks.
Trouble finding Hussein Mohammedanian.
And a lot of you guys will know this because Jake Paul showed the bruises and marks on his face and said that it was Lawrence Okoli that had done that. And faces don't necessarily tell you how a spar went. Some guy can have blood all over him, he can have a busted up nose, but he still won the rounds in sparring. But I can only imagine that this week has been a very, very humbling experience for Jake Paul. In fact, the past few weeks will have been eye-opening for Jake Paul. A past few weeks where he has sparred the likes of Lawrence Okoli, of Jared Anderson, and of Frank Sanchez as well. And being that I have seen Jake Paul go life and death with Tommy Fury, you can guarantee you that Okoli, that Anderson, and that Frank Sanchez have basically manhandled Jake Paul in there. And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul. I mean, I don't, because then I remember the 70-odd million that he's reported to be earning at the end of this fight. But you can't deny, right, that in a world where these almost fantasy fights and whatnot are making such a shitload of cash, that Jake Paul's probably being paid in line for this fight, actually. And the reason I say he's being paid in line is because I really don't think it takes a genius to work out where I'm going with my prediction for this fight. And that is obviously, no, in fact, drum roll, please. AJ via knockout, obviously, technical knockout, if Jake gets
Jake Paul's decision to spar with elite heavyweights has attracted heavy scrutiny from boxing analysts and fans alike. While Paul has built a reputation by facing increasingly notable opponents, his preparation for Anthony Joshua has exposed just how steep this challenge truly is. Training footage shows Paul absorbing immense power from heavyweight sparring partners, revealing weaknesses that were not visible in his earlier fights. Wade, a respected boxing analyst, points out that these sessions highlight a major vulnerability. Reports suggest Paul was knocked out during sparring, raising concerns about his ability to cope with the raw strength and punching power of seasoned heavyweights. This has led many to question whether Paul's confidence matches his actual readiness to face a former heavyweight champion.
Question is, which one of those two things is happening? And question is, how is it going down? Because what we know about Anthony Joshua is that he has a nasty lead, and he's going to have a reach advantage on Jake, just like Lawrence Okoli does in the gym, which is why Jake has brought him in. So that jab's going to be effective. That lead hand of AJ is going to be effective. How does Jake maneuver around that? And again, you can look at this a couple of ways. One, okay, you get hit with it in camp, so you don't get hit with it in the fight, which is why you bring these heavyweights in. It's why you bring Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okolie, Frank Sanchez in, or two, there's a massive flaw in what Jake's doing that he's continually getting hit with this, and the indication that he's getting hit by Okolie means he's going to get hit the same way with Anthony Joshua. I tend to believe a little bit of both, right? You do this so that it doesn't happen, but also how much can Jake really learn and to avoid something that's coming out with the jab or with the lead hook, or just again the distance control and the range of a guy like Okolie and a guy like AJ.
Footage of Paul's sparring further shows him repeatedly getting caught on the chin by heavyweights, leaving visible marks and illustrating the physical toll of these sessions. Training alongside fighters such as Lawrence Okolie represents a level of intensity far beyond anything Paul has previously experienced. Observers note that the blend of size, power, and technical skill among his sparring partners is exposing clear limitations in Paul's defensive ability and overall
Isn't 250 pounds. He's not a natural heavyweight. And you can say that's an advantage to Jake. He's going to be able to move around a little bit. Again, we'll talk about his feet in a second. But it's more to me the fact that what we're not seeing is the biggest weakness of Jake's, on top of the fact that he's gotten an eye. They said Frank Sanchez made his nose look like a crescent moon. We'll get second. Lawrence Okolie is giving him a freaking shiner in sparring. So again, you could say that's great work from Jake to be able to have these high-level guys come in, but you also have to admit that he's getting hit, and he's getting hit a lot by guys that aren't Anthony Joshua in terms of their skill and ability, or at least not at the highest level that AJ has been to. So,
but we brought in world champion heavyweight sparring partners, guys who are 270 pounds, 250 pounds, sparring them, it has been insane. I still got the remnants of
yeah, see, you're taking a little shot there. I like that you're taking those.
Seen analyst Castillo offered a blunt assessment of the situation, stating that stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua would be brutal for Paul. He argues that even with demanding sparring sessions, Paul's chances of enduring Joshua's knockout power remain extremely slim. Castillo suggests that if Paul were able to survive even 3 rounds against Joshua, it would already be considered a major accomplishment. The message is clear: sparring with heavyweights can offer valuable experience, but it cannot fully prepare a fighter for the sustained pressure, precision, and power of an elite former champion. The gap between influencer boxing, carefully selected opponents, and a true world-class heavyweight contest remains enormous.
I think, honestly speaking, if Jake can last 3 rounds, in a way he's kind of won a mental victory, because I'll be real, I think everybody's expecting AJ to come there and blast them out in 1 round. But I think a moral victory would be if Jake just lands 1 stun punch on him. That'd be good enough for him. But kudos to Jake Paul for even doing this, because honestly speaking, I'm not gonna lie to you, one of the greatest moments that I've witnessed in boxing history, and I know Jake Paul is obviously an influencer, and I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing. So this is a bit weird to say that this is quite a huge moment, but just when he came out last year and he came out of his brother and he came out on a low rider, I got goosebumps, because in that moment I said to myself, how can anybody watch this and not feel like dreams can't come true? He must even surprise himself looking at that and think to himself, how on earth am I even here fighting Mike Tyson? And one more thing, even with speaking of that, I give him a lot of respect for not knocking out Mike Tyson, because he could have. And so I respect him for that. So against AJ, and for AJ as well, AJ gets a lot of flack, but at the same time, I think AJ's he's about 35, 36, 37 right now. He doesn't really have anything else to prove right now, so why not cash out with a big fight?
Usman Jordan, speaking alongside a TalkSport host, highlighted Joshua's devastating one-punch knockout power and how it dramatically elevates the danger for Paul as the fight approaches. It is increasingly viewed not as an exhibition, but as a genuinely high-risk encounter. Analysts stress that Joshua's ability to end fights with a single shot is not hypothetical, but proven through his history as a heavyweight champion with elite timing, technique, and power. Every sparring session Paul undertakes with heavyweights is meant to prepare him for these moments. Still, even seasoned observers admit there is a vast difference between controlled gym work and facing the full force of a professional heavyweight champion.
And having Anthony Joshua in front of you, I really hope it doesn't go to that end, but it's a very, very dangerous fight.
You actually just said that if the fight goes ahead, do you believe then that this fight won't go ahead? Because there's many people that do.
I mean, I think it goes ahead, but I mean, I don't know what Jake Paul is thinking, to be honest, because you're talking about someone that is 2 times heavyweight champion of the world. Is someone that actually have got a one-punch knockout power. He understands range, he understands positioning, He understands how to set you up. He's a bigger man. He's a stronger man. I don't know where. For me, yes, that I'm thinking the worst, but I want to be positive, and I really hope that both of them goes home safe with plenty of money. But looking statistically and the professionalism of the sport, I don't see the fight going past 2 rounds.
Well, interestingly, when we're recording this show, it's been announced, and it'll come after, our show will come out afterwards, that Jake Paul is doing an announcement this afternoon at, I think, something like 2 o'clock our time. So who knows what that's likely to be. Interestingly, I spoke to Eddie Hearn when the fight was first announced to try and get the take of what this really was. And his belief, Eddie's belief, and whether you subscribe to Eddie's views on this, is that he genuinely believes that Jake Paul doesn't know what he's walking into, doesn't seem to have a regard for what he's walking into, and thinks he has a chance in this fight. Now, I don't know about you boys, but unless you've lived under a stone, you know that Anthony Joshua can punch. The only debate about Anthony Joshua is not the physicality of Anthony Joshua, it's the psychology of him. There's going to be no psychological damage to Anthony Joshua when he walks in against Jake Paul. This has jeopardy written all over it, doesn't it?
I think from Jake Paul's side, I think
For Jake Paul, physically?
I think that Jake Paul, though, is actually deluded enough to believe that if he gets inside, that he's got.
Is he?
He must be, Simon. Otherwise, the fight wouldn't be going ahead.
Yeah.
He truly believes that he's.